Good morning and happy Valentine's Day. Markets look like they're being a little sweetheart as far as the grains are concerned. Gains this week across the board up 5 cents in corn, up 20 cents in soybeans, up 9.5 cents in the Chicago Board of Trade wheat, and Minneapolis wheat up 1.5 cents. I'm quoting the nearby month price, so you see that in context over there. The live cattle up $3.37, but a little crack in the bull market for agriculture. Feeder cattle down $1.27. A little fluctuation here. It's like two steps forward and one step back in these markets, but at least we've seen some gains, and soybeans had the best gains, up 20 cents. Outside markets, gold up 66, silver up $1.06. Actually gains here, and it looks like that market is top, but again, fluctuating back and forth like markets trade, always a little movement. Crude oil down 0.66, weakness late in the week. The dollar down 0.687, heading back toward that $96 support area. We had a USDA report this week. Of course, the February report is probably the most boring report of the year. Usually U.S. numbers are not adjusted much in corn. They reduced ending stocks 100 million bushel because we do have very good exports. They raised exports 100. Soybeans no change at 350 million carryout. Wheat up 5 million bushel at 931. Actually, a little friendly corn. Uh, World ending stocks, friendly corn minus 1.92 million metric ton at 300. Soybeans up 1 at 125.51, and wheat down zero point 0.8. Actually, friendly corn and wheat market don't move on report day Tuesday, but the soybean market, which actually had more bearish numbers, was up like 12, 13 cents. Soybeans also gained for the week. South American production raised the Brazil production 2 million metric ton. Trade kind of expected that. Paraguay up a half a million metric ton. And I don't think they anticipated Paraguay. No change in Argentina, though. People expected a reduction. So those were actually bearish numbers for soybeans. The market went up 12 cents that day anyway, and 20 cents for the week. The corn chart, there's our low here in August. There's that January negative report. Of course, that didn't put any, USDA printing on paper that farmers harvested 1.4 million more acres, had a half bushel more yield. Didn't put any more bushels in farmers' bins. Farmers knew what those bushels. It wasn't like an October report or September report. Farmers didn't know how many bushels were already in their bins. Harvest was over. USDA shouldn't be making reductions or changes that late. But after that bearish report, corn has basically gone up since then. It's in the process of gaining all of that back. The soybean chart, a little more interesting. Quite a recovery here, gaining 20 cents this week again, pressing up against that old head and shoulders high. We made a couple more sales, like 1140 and down here at about 1125. So a couple of soybean sales. We're over $11, 11 to 12. Highest price we've had in probably 16, 18 months. And 11 to $12 is all our target to get half of our soybean inventory sold. We might get there sooner than we think. We may have to adjust our price expectations, but the soybean market on a bit of a tear. Are we going to just do a double top and then turn back down like we did last time? Or does the soybean market know something the rest of the grain market doesn't know? Is there some bullishness here that we can't see? The wheat market responding a little bit, new recent highs this week, although fell off on Friday 10 cents, but actually some decent gains in wheat. But like I said, two steps forward, one step back. You trade this every day. And Minneapolis wheat is almost looks like it's closed. It's been in a 20-cent range basically here for about 5 months. And you wonder how much volatility that market has. So crude oil market, maybe a little weakness here late in the week, but pushing up near its yearly highs after being at a yearly low in early January. And here's this volatile outside market, the gold, big potential top here, rallying back. Is that just a recovery and we go down, or do we keep gaining back like we'll see in the cattle markets? A silver market pushing up to new recent highs, dropping a good $30 or so in just a short period of time. And, treading water here the last 2 days. Is it just consolidating before a further decline if this market has topped? The live cattle market pushing back toward these recent highs. We wonder, cattle look like they topped, but wow, they're coming back nicely, and the feeder cattle doing the same. So wondered if these markets are going to go back and challenge those old highs. Then, of course, the next question is, will gold and silver do the same? And so we've got some interesting things, and probably many commodities and interest rates, in their entirety probably are pivoting on this U.S. dollar, which tested the 96 area twice, and now 4 or 5 months later, testing it again, actually penetrating it. I think the dollar is going to find some weakness here. When we go through 96, you're going to find support in all of the commodities. And I think that might be the key to these markets overall. So we're seeing some volatility, grains showing some life, showing some gains as we're getting into February. We're setting prices for insurance. Actually, soybeans are about 50 cents higher than last year at this time. Corn right now only about 8 cents lower than the 470 price we set for 25. And the new crop 26 price is not much different. Wheat is down a little bit more, but actually it's surprising. We had a record crop of corn and soybeans, and prices are basically 8 cents lower in corn than last year at this time for the new crop month, and soybeans are 50 to 60 cents higher. That's interesting. Have we built up demand for our product so that we have big demand as we come into the 26th year? And do we need another record crop to keep prices low? And what if we don't have it? The other thing is the dollar keeps getting weaker, and that is what's building demand, because U.S. grains are cheaper all over the world. And actually, they're very cheap if you price them in terms of gold and silver. So some interesting things to ponder. I am taking a more bullish attitude going into the new year. And of course, we have to assess how these markets trade going forward. But certainly, I think I want to raise my price objectives a bit from last year, which I thought was just a defensive year. This year, I think prices have more possibilities as we go forward. Hope you have a great weekend and good marketing.